Leo, something big is about to land in your lap, and it's not just one thing. It's love that reaches your soul, and so much money coming in all at once. This video exists for one reason: to help you get ready for that kind of moment. The kind of moment most people wish for, but very few are truly prepared to receive. There's a rare full moon in Aries today, October 16th, and it's not working alone. Jupiter, the planet of expansion, is fully aligned, and Pluto is activating deep transformations in your chart. This is not just any shift. It's a karmic intersection. A divine overlap. Something you've prayed for might finally be taking form, but it's showing up all at once, and it's going to test how open your heart really is. If your energy has been all over the place lately, if you've been feeling pressure you can't explain, or if life feels like it's been building towards something but you don't know what, it's because this exact moment was written into your spiritual timeline long ago. This isn't a random message. You didn't click on this video by accident. You're here because something inside you already knows it's time. Maybe you've been silently hoping for clarity. Maybe you've been calling out for a sign. Or maybe, just maybe, you've already felt the love or the breakthrough coming, but didn't know how to trust it yet. This reading is not a prediction. It's a wake-up call. It's a reminder that when the universe delivers the things you want, it often arrives in a way that feels overwhelming. Not because you're not worthy, but because the version of you who receives it must be a little bolder, a little softer, a little more available than the version who asked for it. And that's what we're doing today. We're preparing your heart, not just for something good, but for something that could shift your entire path. Here on Eternal Mindfulness, we don't just talk about astrology, we let the sky speak to us. We read tarot as mirrors for your growth, not as answers to chase. And most importantly, we remember, nothing outside you is more powerful than the decision to believe in your own readiness. So take a breath, Leo. Set everything else aside for a few minutes. Because what you're about to hear could bring back a part of you that got lost in the waiting. A part of you that's still worthy of deep love. A part of you that's still allowed to receive more money than you ever thought possible. A part of you that remembers how to trust your own timing. Before we begin, I want to thank you deeply for being here. Every time you like, comment, or subscribe, you help this sacred space grow. You bring more people into the light. You help spread the energy that heals. So let me ask you this, Leo, what brought you here today? Was it a gut feeling? A whisper in your heart? Or just that quiet knowing that something is finally about to change? Let me know in the comments below. Tell me what you're ready to receive. Say it out loud. Claim it. That's how we activate it. Now let's begin. This message is for you, and it's coming right on time. What happens when two doors open at the exact same time, one leading toward deep emotional connection, and the other toward a financial breakthrough that could shift the way you live? That's not a metaphor, Leo. That's the energetic blueprint unfolding in your life right now, and if it feels overwhelming, you're not imagining it. This is the convergence point. In astrology, we call this kind of alignment rare, sacred, and sometimes life-altering. The full moon lighting up your fifth house isn't just stirring your desire to love or create. It's pulling up something far deeper, the part of your heart that forgot what it feels like to be excited again, to take a risk again, to open again. And right alongside that, Pluto's presence in your 8th house isn't gently tapping at your door, it's knocking loudly, demanding transformation. Not just change on the surface, but a real shift in how you allow support, how you receive abundance, how you let go of control. That's the thing about Pluto, it doesn't negotiate. It asks you to release what's already dead so something alive can take its place. That might be an old mindset about money. That might be a belief that you have to do everything alone. That might even be the emotional armor you've worn so long you forgot how heavy it is. These energies aren't separate. They're happening together for a reason. Because sometimes, the universe doesn't deliver one miracle, it delivers two. Simultaneously. A person shows up and sees you in a way you've longed for but didn't expect. And at the same time, something financial shifts, an offer, a settlement, an idea that starts gaining momentum. It's like standing in the middle of a storm made of everything you ever prayed for, and realizing it's not chaos, it's divine choreography. You don't need to manage it. You just need to trust that it's real. When I pull the Two of Pentacles in a reading, it usually tells me someone is juggling more than they admit. That they're balancing so much internally, while trying to look like they've got it all together. And when the world shows up beside it, that's not pressure, it's permission. Permission to let an old chapter close completely. Permission to step into something that actually fits. These two cards together aren't a warning theory, a sign that you've reached a threshold. You're not just managing things anymore. You're graduating from a version of yourself that had to survive into a version that gets to thrive. You don't have to chase either door. You don't have to choose between love and money. That's the old story. The new story is integration. Alignment. Receiving both. Receiving all of it. Because the Leo I'm speaking to right now, your heart isn't just hungry for more, it's finally ready to allow it in. And if you've been scared, if a part of you wants to run or shut down or doubt, I get it. Truly. But don't let that old self hijack what your future self is already reaching for. Let this moment reset you. Let it be your 0 point. You've come so far, quietly, patiently, faithfully. And now everything is happening at once, not to drown you, but to elevate you. So breathe. Feel. Don't rush to understand it all. Let the experience be bigger than your logic. Because this isn't the kind of moment you explain. It's the kind you live. And you, Leo, are right on time for it. Leo, you've changed. Not just on the outside, but in the quiet ways that nobody sees. You've learned to protect your peace, to say no without guilt, and to hold space for your own healing before offering it to someone else. You didn't get here overnight, and it wasn't always graceful, but it was honest. That's what makes what's coming next so significant. Because love, for you, is no longer just about connection. It's about alignment. And you're finally in a place where your heart won't open just because someone shows interest, it opens when someone shows depth. The High Priestess and Queen of Swords appearing together in your energy isn't a coincidence. It's a statement. One speaks of inner knowing, the other of clear discernment. Together, they form a kind of personal gatekeeping that says, I've been through too much to let the wrong energy back in. That's not bitterness, it's wisdom. It's boundaries built not out of fear, but out of clarity. And while that may have made you feel isolated at times, it also prepared you for something far more rare, a soul connection that doesn't require you to shrink, perform, or guess. This week, someone may enter or re-enter your energetic field. But unlike the past, this isn't about chasing a spark. This is quiet recognition. It's eye contact that doesn't flinch. Breath that slows instead of quickens. A silence that feels safe instead of awkward. You may not even realize what's happening at first because it won't come with fireworks. It will come with peace. With steadiness. With presence. And that, Leo, is how you'll know this is different. It's easy to get caught in the fantasy of perfect timing or storybook chemistry. But that's not the kind of love that finds you now. This is soul-level resonance. The kind of connection that holds a mirror up to you and reflects back not just who you are, but who you're becoming. It's not here to fix you or save you. It's here to walk beside you. To witness you. To meet you in your strength and still offer softness. If you're already in a relationship, this could be the week where a shared dream starts taking root. Maybe it's a home. A move. A child. A business. Something long discussed but not yet initiated now feels real because it is. The energy of this full moon clears space for the abstract to become tangible. It's not about rushing. It's about honoring what's unfolding without forcing it. And yet, even in the beauty of this unfolding, your standards matter. You didn't come this far to settle. You didn't go through all that heartbreak just to entertain half-efforts or hollow words. That's why your discernment is still your compass. Keep it close. Let it guide you, not from a place of distrust, but from the place in you that now knows the difference between being wanted and being seen. This moment asks you to do something radical. Stay open without losing yourself. Welcome what arrives, but stay grounded in what you've built inside. That balance, that gracie ice where real love lives. Not in the performance, but in the presence. So if your heart feels hesitant, that's okay. You don't have to rush. You just have to stay awake. Because sometimes, love doesn't come in the way you imagine it. It comes in the form of someone who feels like home in a world that never quite made sense. And when it does, Leo, I hope you're willing to let it in, not because you need it, but because you're finally ready to receive it from a place of wholeness. There's something quietly powerful about the moment you realize abundance isn't chasing you, it's finally circling back. Not as a fluke, not as luck, but as a return on energy you once gave when nobody was watching. That's exactly what this week's alignment speaks to, Leo. The appearance of the 9 of Pentacles and the 10 of Cups in the same spread is rare, and it's not just rare because of what they symbolize separately. It's powerful because they're showing up together. Emotional fulfillment and financial stability at the same time. Most people think they have to sacrifice one for the other. You've probably believed that too, at some point. But what if that belief was part of the old life you're being asked to leave behind? This is what I call a double portal moment. In astrology, Pluto now active in your 8th house isn't just unearthing past traumas or secrets. It's revealing where your energy has been tied up, where you've overgiven, or where old agreements, financial, emotional, even karmic, are finally being renegotiated. This is the universe giving you permission to collect on investments you made in your growth, in your healing, and yes, even in your pain. But here's the catch: Pluto never gives without asking something in return. If something big is coming in, something else has to be released. That's how energetic exchange works. That's how real transformation happens. So if you want to receive, you may need to loosen your grip. You don't have to know what to let go of all at once. But start by asking yourself what feels like weight. What feels like force? What are you holding on to because you're afraid of not having enough later? That's the space where money can't flow. Because abundance doesn't speak fear. It speaks readiness. It speaks clarity. It speaks surrender. And here's the part people often miss. Surrender isn't about giving up, it's about opening up. It's about saying, I'm ready to be supported in a way that doesn't drain me. It's about allowing ease into spaces you've only known struggle. When the 10 of Cups shows up, it brings emotional safety. And when the 9 of Pentacles arrives beside it, it says you've already done the work. You've already earned this. So the only thing left to do is stop blocking it. Let yourself feel into what receiving more would actually mean. Would it change your identity? Would it ask you to stop playing small? Would it challenge how you've defined enough? These are real questions and they matter, because what's coming isn't casual. It's meant to elevate you, not overwhelm you. This week, let gold and deep violet be your anchor colors. Gold, for obvious reasons, it's not just about wealth, it's about remembering your worth. Violet, on the other hand, is for protection. It helps seal the energy that's rising within you, keeping it sacred as you navigate change. And if there's a number to carry with you right now, let it be 8. Not just because of what it means in numerology, eternity, expansion, balance, but because the number 8 turns back on itself, creating an infinite loop. What you send out, returns. What you plant, blooms. So ask yourself today, are you ready to let it in? Are you ready to believe that both love and money can show up at once, not as a test, but as a blessing you've long prepared for? Don't be afraid of it. Be available to it. This is your harvest window, Leo. Let the universe show you what it's like when timing and trust finally align. It's strange how some things try to circle back right when your life is about to shift into something better. There's a kind of energy that shows up just before your breakthrough, often disguised as something familiar. A message from someone you haven't heard from in months. A casual thinking of you from the person who once ghosted you. A job offer that looks better on paper than it ever felt in reality. These moments aren't random. They're what I call spiritual checkpoints, places where you get to decide, consciously, if you want to keep repeating what you've already outgrown. The 7 of Swords showing up in your reading isn't here to scare you. It's not a warning in the sense of danger, it's a gentle spotlight. It's pointing to a pattern you've worked hard to heal. In astrology, when Pluto is active in the 8th house like it is right now, it brings not just transformation, but also tests of power. Not power over others, but power over your own energy. Are you still available to what once drained you? Or have you learned to tell the difference between familiarity and alignment? Someone or something may try to re-enter your field this week. They may look more polished, more emotionally available, more in tune. And maybe they are. People do change. But your job isn't to figure out if they're different. Your job is to check in with yourself and ask, am I still the version of me who would accept this? You see, healing doesn't always look like cutting cords or dramatic endings. Sometimes it looks like smiling, saying thank you for the lesson, and closing the door with peace in your heart. If you feel conflicted, it's okay. The mind tends to romanticize the familiar, especially when we're on the edge of something unknown. But don't confuse comfort with growth. Sometimes the final exam of a lesson is seeing if you can walk away without bitterness, without guilt, without second-guessing yourself. That's when you know the pattern is complete. That's when you've truly outgrown the version of yourself that settled for less. Energetically, this is a moment of cleanup before expansion. Think of it like preparing your garden for new growth. You don't plant fresh seeds in soil that's tangled with old roots. You clear the space. You make room for the nourishment to reach deep. And the same applies here. You're making room for real love, for aligned opportunity, for the life you've been manifesting. I want to be clear, this isn't about resentment. This isn't about carrying old hurt forward. It's about clarity. It's about choosing peace over potential. Choosing alignment over promises. Choosing you, not the past version of you who needed validation, but the present version who's found stability in solitude, power in discernment, and grace in saying no. So when the familiar knocks this week, pause. Ask yourself not just what they're offering but what you would be giving up if you said yes. Your energy. Your boundaries. Your truth. And if the answer feels heavy, let that be enough. You don't need to fight, justify, or prove anything. You just need to remember who you are now. The part of you that's been rising slowly, steadily, quietly, ready for what's next. This is not about proving your strength. It's about honoring your evolution. And trust me, Leo, the universe notices every time you choose growth over repetition. Let that be your anchor. Let that be your power. Let that be the quiet, clear answer when the old tries to knock on the door of your new life. Sometimes healing doesn't come through big dramatic moments. Sometimes it arrives in a quiet conversation around a kitchen table, or a look in someone's eyes that finally softens after years of distance. The presence of the Death card alongside the King of Wands in your chart this week points to that kind of shift, not flashy, not forced, but deeply transformative in its own right. This energy touches your roots. It's ancestral. It's the kind of healing that moves through generations, not just individuals. If there's someone in your family, likely an older figure, perhaps a parent, uncle, or elder sibling who once felt like a source of tension, someone who challenged your identity or didn't know how to receive your truth, that dynamic is being revisited. But not in the way it used to be. The King of Wands here doesn't represent the same rigid, prideful stance. This time, it's softened. It's reflective. This person has seen something, felt something, lived through something that has changed their perception. They may not have the perfect words, but their energy speaks of reconciliation. And your role in that is not to forget or excuse the past, but to decide whether the present moment deserves a different response. Opening the door to peace is not the same as pretending hurt didn't happen. It's acknowledging that you're no longer willing to carry the weight of unresolved pain. You're choosing lightness, not because they've earned it, but because you have. Because your emotional freedom is worth more than being right. You're not Bendingieri rising. And when you rise from love, you don't lose yourself. You lead. At the same time, there's this beautiful counterbalance showing up through someone much younger, a child, a niece, a little cousin, maybe even a student or mentee. Someone who looks up to you, even if they've never said it out loud. This week, they might come to you with news that lights up your heart. A first relationship. A confession. A step into self-expression. And what's powerful here is not just the sweetness of the moment, but the trust it reflects. They chose you. Out of all people, they saw you as the safest place to bring something precious. That's not accidental. That's legacy in motion. That's you being a channel for a different kind of love, one that protects without possession, one that listens without judgment, one that lets others bloom without fear. That's what the healing of a bloodline looks like. It's not just making peace with the past. It's becoming a safer future for someone else. And yes, there's a practical ripple to this too. When emotional channels clear, material abundance follows. That's not spiritual fluff, it's energetic law. Blocked love often creates blocked money. But when you let the heart flow, you become more receptive in every way. Don't be surprised if, after making peace or reconnecting with someone, a financial door opens too, maybe through shared assets, maybe through family support, or simply through a sense of internal release that attracts better outcomes. So take this week gently, Leo. Let the old soften without rushing it. Let the new be received without questioning it. You are the bridge right now, the place where the story changes. And that's not a small role. That's legacy work. It takes heart. It takes presence. But you've got both. Let that guide you. Leo, if you've made it here to the end of this journey with me, I want you to pause for just a moment and breathe. Let everything we've talked about settle in, not as information, but as invitation. Because none of this is theory. This is real energy. This is the rhythm of your life shifting under your feet. And you're not imagining it. You're standing at the crossroads of transformation, and what's approaching isn't a test, it's a gift. Today isn't just another day on the calendar. October 16th marks a sacred threshold, where love, abundance, healing, and rebirth are arriving all at once. That may sound like a lot. And it is. But it's not too much for you. Not anymore. Because somewhere along the way, through the quiet work, the silent prayers, the nights you stayed soft when you could have shut down, you became ready. Not perfect. Not finished. But ready. You don't need to beg for what already has your name on it. You don't need to chase down what's already finding its way to you. And you definitely don't need to prove your worth to receive something that was always meant for you. All you need now is the courage to say yes. Not just out loud, but in the way you wake up. The way you speak to yourself. The way you choose who and what gets access to your energy. So let me ask you, in this soft space between endings and beginnings, what are you still holding on to that doesn't fit who you're becoming? What fear are you still calling protection? What version of love, money, or identity are you finally ready to release so you can experience something real, something whole, something worthy of your true self? And if your heart whispers even the smallest yes, listen. Because that's where your power lies, not in what you control, but in what you allow. This is your moment to allow more. More clarity. More connection. More expansion. More you. I want to thank you from the depth of my being for spending this time with me. Every like, every comment, every subscription helps us grow this sacred space. Eternal mindfulness exists because of your energy, your attention, and your openness to receive messages like this. Your presence here matters. It truly does. So if anything in this message touched you, I'd love for you to comment below. Let me know, what are you ready to receive? What part of this spoke to where you are right now? Even just writing it down is a powerful act of claiming. Try something like this: I'm ready to receive authentic love and the abundance I truly deserve. Say it not just from a but for yourself. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone you care about. You never know who might need this right now. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay grounded, stay open, and remember, every miracle begins with a choice. So let me ask you one last time today, Leo, is your heart ready?